Meghan Markle, once the shining example of royal grace, thought she could play the victim forever. But oh, how quickly the tides turned. It started with a few jokes, a couple of snickers, but what followed was an avalanche of comedic roast that completely obliterated her carefully curated image. From Chris Rock's explosive truth bomb to the satirical genius of South Park, Meghan found herself not just the subject of jokes, but the target of an entire entertainment industry. And the most shocking part? Her tears were real. When the laughter echoed across late-night shows, you could see it on her face. This wasn't just about fame anymore. It was personal. Meghan Markle thought she could play victim until the entire entertainment industry turned her life into a comedy special. From Chris Rock to South Park, no one held back. And trust me, the tears were real. You won't believe who roasted her the hardest. Within what felt like seconds, Meghan Markle was crowned with the title nobody ever wants, the most hated person of 2025. How did she get here? From a relatively unknown actress to a global duchess, she managed to upset virtually every major corner of the entertainment world. And we're not talking about random Twitter trolls. No, this is every major comedian, late-night host, and satirical program all lining up to take their shot. Her Netflix deals, her royal duties, nothing was off limits. The irony? A lot of the roasts she received were well-earned. She created a narrative, and now the world was holding her to it. Meghan Markle earned a title nobody wants, most hated person in 2025. And honestly, it's kind of impressive how fast she climbed to the top of that list. From a relatively unknown actress to a duchess with a global platform, she managed to anger almost every corner of the entertainment world in record time. We're not talking about trolls on Twitter or random haters. This is every major comedian, late-night host, and satirical program turning her into their favorite punching bag. And the irony, some of the roasts were actually well-earned. Then came Chris Rock. The king of comedy didn't just make a joke. No, he detonated a truth bomb that shook everything Meghan had built. In one single line, Rock exposed the story Meghan and Harry had been spinning about their royal departure. You didn't Google these people? In those words, Meghan's act as a shocked outsider crumbled. The world had been sold a story of naive innocence, but Chris called it out. No one bought it anymore. That one line cracked open a door, and suddenly, comedians everywhere felt free to speak their minds, no longer fearing backlash. After Chris Rock, the floodgates opened. Every comedian from Jimmy Fallon to Trevor Noah turned Meghan's life into a punchline. Chris Rock didn't just make a joke, he detonated a truth bomb. Meghan Markle's famous Oprah interview presented her as a shocked outsider, completely blindsided by royal traditions and centuries-old protocols. But Chris saw through the act. In one line, he exposed the narrative for what it was. You didn't Google these people? Boom. That one question dismantled the victim's story in seconds. Once Chris Rock opened the floodgates, there was no turning back. Late-night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, and even comedians from Saturday Night Live jumped into the mix. Meghan and Harry's lives became the ultimate target for savage jokes. It wasn't just a few pokes, it was full-on cultural roasting. From their Netflix deals to Harry's memoir, everything was turned into material. Every time Meghan moved a pretzel from one bag to another, Fallon was right there, mocking it as the peak of out-of-touch rich person behavior. Their quest for privacy while parading their personal lives in the spotlight became the ultimate contradiction, and comedy was the tool to expose it. Chris Rock's moment wasn't just comedy, it was cultural permission. He allowed the world to laugh at contradictions, privilege, and performance. Once he went there, American comedians, British comics, and satirical shows all jumped in. The Sussexes went from public figures to ultimate roast targets overnight. Even Trevor Noah, who initially offered Meghan some defense, couldn't stay neutral forever. The moment Harry pitched Meghan for a voiceover at a Hollywood premiere, it was all over. The narrative of sacrifice and principled withdrawal crumbled under the weight of Hollywood hustle. Trevor brilliantly pointed out the absurdity of royal responsibility being traded for Hollywood privilege. It was no longer about victimhood, it was about opportunity. The transformation from a royal couple to opportunist was now undeniable. Everyone from comedians to media pundits started to see Meghan and Harry for what they really were, celebrities playing the victim for profit. While American comedians roasted Meghan and Harry from afar, British comics like Jimmy Carr and Simon Broadkin took a different approach. They weren't just making jokes, they were defending the monarchy and their country's pride. Jimmy Carr skewered Meghan's feminism, pointing out the irony of her empowerment as she gave up her career for a prince. The audience roared, recognizing the truth in his words. Simon Broadkin didn't hold back either. Giving Meghan's Netflix documentary a verdict, it failed spectacularly. The critique wasn't just funny, it was a national defense against the contradictions Meghan and Harry had put on display for the world. And when comedians exhausted their material, the internet stepped in. From memes to TikToks, the roasting never stopped. Even Conan O'Brien got involved, using Meghan's failed jam business as comedic gold. Her tiny jars of overpriced jam became the perfect metaphor for the performative nature of wealth and privilege. Every meme, every video was a punchline showing how Meghan's life was a performance wrapped in luxury. The internet didn't just stop at roasting, it amplified the contradictions, exposing the Sussexes' narrative to the world in a way no one could ignore. And as if the world needed more roasting, shows like Spitting Image and South Park took the jokes to a whole new level. Meghan's life was now turned into puppet theater, highlighting every contradiction with painful accuracy. From her slapping flowers on snacks to Harry fumbling with a microwave, Spitting Image perfectly captured the absurdity of their lives. Even South Park and Family Guy joined in, mocking their endless quest for fame disguised as privacy. The animated shows didn't hold back, exaggerating the reality of Meghan and Harry's public lives to the point where their royal status became a symbol of comedy and contradiction. By the time the dust settled, Meghan and Harry weren't just the punchline, they had become symbols of privilege and performative victimhood. The world had laughed at them, mocked them, and dissected every aspect of their lives. What began as a royal exit story became a cautionary tale of ambition, strategy, and self-awareness lost. They went from being a story of escape to being a permanent reminder of how privilege, when unchecked, can be turned into a global joke. And the best part? The world will never let them forget it. As the world continued to laugh, a deeper realization began to set in. The Sussexes weren't just victims of media mockery, they were skilled performers, capitalizing on every opportunity to make a narrative out of their hardships. It seemed like every move they made was meticulously crafted, and what once appeared as a series of genuine missteps now looked more like a series of strategic decisions designed to maintain their relevance in the public eye. Every controversial interview, every public appearance was part of a calculated media blitz, and the world was catching on. Take Meghan's ventures into the world of lifestyle content. What was once viewed as an attempt at authenticity quickly became a parade of contradictions. A woman who claimed to have turned her back on the royal family to find a more humble existence was now showing off her relatable lifestyle with a multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix. Every post, every show, it seemed to scream out, "I'm just like you, but richer." From how to breathe tutorials to the now infamous pretzel bag incident, it was impossible to ignore the disconnection between the public claims of struggle and the lavish reality of their lives. But despite the growing backlash, Meghan wasn't about to let go of her spotlight. In fact, she seemed to revel in the drama, feeding off it as her PR machine kept churning out more content, keeping her in the public consciousness. The more comedians made her the butt of their jokes, the more Meghan's image was cemented into pop culture, albeit as a caricature of her own life. She was no longer the relatable duchess who struggled to adapt to royal life. She was the wealthy woman on the world stage, wearing her privilege like a crown, even while claiming to despise it. As the roast continued, something unexpected happened. The public didn't just turn against Meghan, they became oddly fascinated by her. There was a magnetic pull in her contradictions, a morbid curiosity that turned her into an obsession. The more she tried to position herself as an underdog fighting against the media, the more the media clung to her, turning every minor scandal into a full-blown spectacle. And despite the jabs, the laughter, and the ridicule, Meghan didn't retreat, she leaned into it. Perhaps that's the true essence of her story, the perfect blend of audacity and opportunism. In every roast, there was a deeper commentary about her resilience in the face of global scorn. Could it be that Meghan Markle is a master of manipulation, not just in her personal life, but in the public eye? Every joke and every mockery might have been intended to tear her down, but in reality, they made her more relevant than ever. Whether she's aware of it or not, the ongoing roasts have become her brand, and she's been riding the wave like a pro. The reality is, the more Meghan was roasted, the more her presence dominated the cultural conversation. At some point, the line blurred. Was it hate or was it fascination? The internet seemed torn, offering both praise and scorn. The more people complained, the more her name appeared in every headline. Whether they loved her or hated her, everyone was talking about Meghan Markle, and in a world where fame is currency, she was cashing in. With every laugh and every meme, the fate of Meghan and Harry seemed more uncertain. But perhaps that was the plan all along. As the roast continued, it became evident that Meghan's ability to thrive amid public criticism was not just about surviving, it was about capitalizing on the chaos. From Netflix to speaking engagements, she had built a brand that thrived on controversy, not in spite of it. In fact, the more roasted she became, the more opportunities seemed to fall into her lap. lap. But at what cost? Meghan and Harry's royal departure, once seen as a bold move for independence, now looked more like a desperate attempt to escape the reality they'd created. They wanted to be free from royal constraints, yet their every move screamed for attention. And the comedy world wasn't shy about pointing it out. The question now is, what happens next? Will they continue to ride the wave of absurdity, collecting deals, endorsements, and media appearances, or will they retreat once again only to return with another sob story and a fresh batch of complaints? Perhaps the only thing we can be sure of is that Meghan and Harry will continue to be part of the pop culture landscape for the foreseeable future. They've gone from royalty to entertainment icons, with their entire lives now a subject for the public to consume, analyze, and roast. And as long as they keep showing up, they'll keep giving comedians and media outlets endless material. No matter what happens next, Meghan Markle's legacy is already set in stone. She is the subject of the most savage, entertaining, and well-earned roasts of the century. From Chris Rock's brutal one-liners to animated shows like South Park, Meghan's story has transcended the royal family and become a symbol of everything the world loves to hate. The comedy, while often exaggerated, carries with it an undeniable truth about privilege, performative victimhood, and the audacity of turning every personal moment into content. In the end, Meghan Markle's name will be remembered as one that sparked countless debates, made people laugh, and turned her entire life into a comedic masterpiece. Whether you love her or hate her, one thing is clear: Meghan Markle has earned her place in the spotlight. And as the jokes keep coming, one can only wonder, how long will she keep playing the game? Will she keep playing the game? Will she keep playing the game? Will she...